Welcome to the Bubblewrap Podcast. I'm Ashley Walker from HSE Advice UK, and we're here to protect your business and make safety pop. Hi everyone, welcome back to Bubblewrap podcast to protect your business. I've got the lovely Chris Ball here with me today.
Hello.
So welcome to the podcast studio.
Thank you. Round take two.
Take two. Yeah, a couple of when we were recording this episode for a while, we've just been chatting, haven't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, So welcome to the start. So we first met
Quite a while ago now. Is it? It's been getting on for 2 years now.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it was.
It was through Boost, wasn't it?
2021, yeah. So I did the Flying Start programme with Boost.
Yeah.
And I'd highly recommend that for any new business in Lancashire wanting a fully funded business startup course. That was great.
It was. It's good, and it's the business has evolved a lot since then. It's all rebranded. It's now Summit, or To the Summit, and it's changed a lot. So the packages we offer now, that it's basically small, medium, and large. So we like helping small businesses, startup businesses. We help scaling businesses that are starting that growth journey, and then getting to the scale up. And I think my sweet spot that I've seemed to have honed over the last couple of years is succession planning. That's the big one. So that's probably where a lot of our clients are similar, actually. That
definitely.
I tend to find it's those bigger businesses that they're probably doing 4, 5, 6 million turnover. You've got an owner in the business who somebody said to me actually the other day that they're tired. They're actually tired of being responsible for everything in the business. And that's really blown my mind, and I think that's a really big thing. It is. Yeah. It is tiring, and I think. But you imagine getting that to a size where you've got 30, 40, 50 people in the business and being responsible for everything all of the time. But then, so health and safety. You might find that owner's actually the person responsible for health and safety in the business too. And
usually,
And I find it fascinating. That the way to get around that is obviously to share the responsibilities and to get more people in the business and share some of those responsibilities, and that's when you start to get that fulfillment back, and you can actually start enjoying your own business a little bit more. But also you're setting yourself up for succession as well. That you've now shared those responsibilities, and that really is what happened to me. I got the business to a size where we were. That business that I'm talking about, a 6 million turnover, 50 odd staff. And, once I'd gone through this plan and actually defined what our missions and values and everything, and you've started to share those responsibilities with other people, I remember sitting in the office one day thinking, I don't think it needs me anymore.
Right.
And that was how I managed to get out of the business. I say managed to get out, like it was I chose to get out, but you must see that a lot, where people aren't actually responsible for tasks.
Yeah, and trying to delegate, but then give up control.
Yeah.
And you really need to trust
people.
someone. Yeah. But it's funny, when you set up a business, you don't think about, what's my end goal? How am I going to get out of it? It's going to be a family business? Am I going to sell the business?
Yeah.
And that's not something I even thought about until I did the Flying Start programme, and they're like, what's your exit plan? I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
My exit plan? I'm just starting up. But
that's it. But you hear it a lot, don't you? Run it like you're going to sell it.
Yeah.
And you've got to do that. You really have got to do that. And I struggled with it when I first started this whole business transformation side for the same reasons that you're talking about. What is that end goal? And as you say, I'm just starting. I haven't thought about it yet. But you've got to have that, like, North Star, that guiding light, that just so when you wake up in the morning, that the business is going in that direction. So
you need a goal, not a goal, but you need something that really energises you. That ultimate, I'm aiming for this, and that's my target. But it's what I found is, originally when we've set up, I thought, my happy point will be when we become VAT registered. I'm going to go, yes, right, we've made it, we're an established business, we're VAT registered now. And then Tiffany and I were just sat doing sort of zero accounting, and she went,
we've done it.
What? Are we VAT registered yet? Because we should be in the next 3 weeks. I was like, oh no, right, quick, ring the accountant.
And that takes 3 months to get that through.
But it's funny how your goals change, and that was my point of going, right, we've really made it. And then, but your next goal already comes along, and you need that end.
You do, and
it's hard to describe though.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about me anyway. We're talking about you, or we're talking about health and safety.
Yeah.
But the same applied for us, with health and safety in the business as well. When I'd taken over as MD, 5 years ago, we didn't have a plan for health and safety either. It was just something that we did or had to do.
Some people see it as ticking a box, which is the negative.
Yeah.
But what I'd always say for any business, regardless of size, have a strategy for your business, but include health and safety in that. Or if you're a large organisation, have a health and safety strategy, have a 3-year plan.
Yeah.
What's your issues? Let's have a look at all the data. Have we got any sickness, absence? Have we got injuries? Have we got specific accidents that we need to look at? How can you develop the team, train the team? What can you put in place to really improve your compliance, your culture, and then get everyone involved in it? Because productivity levels should rise. Everyone will see that you're taking safety seriously, and will want to work better for an organisation.
And it's amazing when you start to do some of the work we've done together. But when you start to define what the business needs to look like and how it needs to perform, and you do have that long-term vision. Health and safety just needs to be part of that plan.
Yeah, not a bolt-on.
Yeah, and it's got to be the culture. Everybody. We talked a lot, this morning about mental health and well-being, and all that's to do with culture. That if it is a task, then it's somebody's job. Health and safety should just be the way you do things.
Yeah. And everyone's involved.
It's massive.
And it's hard. So we go into a lot of businesses where maybe something's happened, and we're there to help them through that process of maybe they've had a bad accident, or they've got an insurance audit coming up, or the HSE's been in. We've seen that a lot recently where we've been called in to help rather than
too late, if you like, or
a bit late reactively, and trying to get them out of that situation and then think about the future and how we can improve it. And it's it's trying to take the weight off people's shoulders that way, but it's trying to figure out what's the bit before then. When can we actually go in to avoid that happening? And some business owners, they've got everything. They've got the accounts, they've got insurance, they've got absolutely everything to manage. Keeping hold of health and safety or delegating it is a hard decision in itself. But also, they don't have time.
No.
To even sit down and think about it.
But I think so many people still treat it as a task or as a function or something that's got to happen, and it's the biggest thing that I managed to change was to weave it into the culture. And it's relatively straightforward to do, but you've got to know where the business is going, and you've got to have a mission statement. You've got to have values that a purpose. And if you can get everybody to believe in that purpose and the mission and the vision and the values, we start to employ people differently. One of the best things I did was I came up with a silly thing called a people analyzer, and I it was just a piece of paper. But I wrote all 50 odd people down one side, and then across the bottom I put everything that was important to me. Like, there's some silly ones on there. Would I trust you with my wife? Would I trust you with my daughter or my wallet? But ultimately it was things like when the shit hits the fan on a Friday afternoon. Are you the one that's ducked and run out the door? Or are you the one that's going, can I help? And so the first step for this for me was building the right team.
Okay.
So I think I got rid of 3 people off the end of it, and you think they were never going to fit, it was never going to work, and it doesn't matter what I do, I can't force people to fit. And that then lifted the morale of the whole team.
Wow.
And then
so different
instant, absolutely instantly. But then you've got the right team. The people that believe in what I'm trying to do.
And treat each other with respect. Because sometimes we'll be in an organisation, maybe we're doing like an accident investigation, and because we're not visual people, we see a lot of things as investigators, and we notice people's personalities, we know how people work, and instantly I'll get a feeling from someone, I'll know instantly if they've done something incorrect, or not worked safely, or they're one of those bullies in the workplace. You instantly get to see that. And throughout the whole investigation, I'm very open and honest with a business owner. That person is doing something wrong. You need to nip it in the bud now. If it's been left for too long, watch. If they leave, see what happens to your staff. And I've seen it time and time again where well, everyone's working great this week. Yeah. Well, I was like, well, the issue's kind of gone now.
Yeah, so I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that was the first step for me on this journey. And then, through the business, there was other things that we started to do, and I think we've talked about this before. That the whole CSCS card and IOSH thing. One of my beliefs was that everybody deserved to be safe, and it was just one of our things that we did. That everybody went on an IOSH working safely. So they did their 8 hours, and it didn't matter if it was the cleaner or the storeman or project manager, contracts manager. It didn't. Everybody did it.
Yeah.
But that then starts to build this culture of everybody feeling safe in the business and being safe, and when everybody understands what we're trying to do, they all own it to a certain extent. So when somebody noticed that ladders haven't been tested or a tag's missing, it's becoming part of the culture of the business.
And they're raising those hazard observations, this isn't right, we need to fix it.
And they're just asking questions, but it's not any one person's task, it's not one person's job.
You'll see that a lot on your, it's not my job.
Oh yeah. Well, bystander apathy, isn't it? It's not mine. Not doing that. Not my problem.
Mine, thinking that, isn't it?
And I think that's where health and safety is changing, that it's got to be integral. And I think having somebody like yourself, that retained service, specialist that can work alongside the business, then I genuinely don't believe it needs to be a task. And obviously there's got to be somebody responsible for, they've got to have that role. But, you don't need that specialist.
No, and I think people think that instantly they need a staff member, a full-time health and safety staff member, which they don't. No. You can outsource it, and it depends on the size of your business.
It does,
the spend, and because we've worked with a range of businesses where we either go in once a year, do your audit, have your action plan for the year, a bit like a strategy, your risk assessments, your policies there, you're legally compliant, done. Or we're there once a week, being the on-site health and safety person, because they have high-risk processes. And there's one business where there was a health and safety manager on site full time, and unfortunately they retired. Well, they were great at what they did, and I loved working with them. And we're now doing that role, but just 1 day a week. And the spend is a lot different between that on site full time person. Or actually, because we're quite savvy in our processes and how we work, and we have our full plans, and actually in the background there's a team of 4 of us. That one person's on site every week, but actually we've got a whole team behind it. We're doing the exact same full-time role in 1 day a week. And
it's fresh. It's the that your qualifications are changing all the time. It's upgraded. Because it's a big financial commitment to have somebody. You pretty much need to be NEBOSH, don't you? Really,
because I think people assume that to have the appointed competent person, you could do your IOSH. And if you've been doing health and safety for years and years, you've got that experience. It's a basic qualification, but you need your NEBOSH or equivalent to really understand your stuff, I suppose, as well as your experience, because you can't just do a qualification and then you...
But that begs it, and I know this is one of my other pet hates, but the whole CSCS and IOSH thing, and that just drives me nuts. That the amount of people that we used to have in the business that were good old school engineers, the guys, mid to late 50s that maybe haven't got an MVQ in plumbing or heating or gas or whatever, but they were damn good at what they did, and they had all the compliance regulations like gas safe and things like that. But they really struggled to get CSCS cards, and you just say the whole industry's in a mess, in my opinion. Really, that
it's a funny one.
I know they've got to fix it, and I know it's got to change, and I know we've got to work with young people, and we've got to develop young people and I'm a massive advocate of that.
Leave that gap between I don't want to say old timers, but the people that have been doing that job for years and years.
And there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there. But again, if you can just change that culture, I suppose it ultimately depends on the market you're working in. If you're working on a huge construction site in the middle of Manchester, then you've got to play the game and you've got to follow their rules.
I suppose for those who don't know CSCS, the CSCS cards is sort of a basic health and safety test, and you get a card to go onto a construction site, and it's very well known in construction. There are other cards out there, but it very much depends on what...
part of the problem, isn't
it? That's the thing,
use?
And but we were talking about accreditations before as well. It's the exact same with the cards. Whatever the client dictates is what you need to do. So like, there's a thing called SSIP accreditation, and it's a health and safety questionnaire. You have to evidence yourselves against the criteria, and you'll get approval in accreditation. And that's CHAS, that's Safe Contractor, Construction Line, SMAS. There's all sorts out there.
They all need to be
they all do the same
together.
thing. To me,
yeah.
Obviously, you know, I suppose CHAS is the most well known, and you get bolt-ons, you get add-ons as part of your membership. You know, different things, but it's all the same. You're being accredited to a standard, and you know, we had one of my clients that works down in Kent do fibre installations. One client of theirs, can't remember what the client was. They wanted Construction Line Gold. And a different tender contract wanted CHAS, not CHAS Elite, CHAS Advanced. They're the exact same thing. And the thousands. I'm talking
says, no, you've got
$3,000 each, because it's based on the number of staff you have. And you're like, okay, they're going to make that money back with a contract, but something's got to change.
It has, and you know, we used to have exactly the same thing. You know, we used to work with some really big blue chip clients, and they'd insist on, as you say, CHAS or Safe Contractor. But then you could work for a different client in a completely different field that would want Construction Line. You know, as you say, and it's technically the same thing, and it is frustrating.
Really frustrating.
And in a way, you know, you're employing somebody to deal with that, and you think, but it doesn't need to be fixed. Just have the same, you know, have a common platform that you used. And we used to do things, you know, I mentioned it before about, you know, BNES and HVCA, you know, a lot of these governing bodies, if you like, but
industry specific
so you know, we were mechanical services, you know, so they used to bring them all together. But even then, you know, you'd have almost like a central, like say SSIP, where the central accreditation, but you know, it's like, you just need to pay $5,000 for this certificate and $5,000 for that certificate. You know, it's ridiculous, and the whole IOSH CSCS thing drives me nuts.
And I've got a really big pet hate. So ISO. ISO is like the creme de la creme of standards. You know, it gets you big contracts. If you're ISO accredited to 9001, 14001, 45,001 for health and safety, quality environment. Now, what there is out there is companies that will go, I will give you your ISO accreditation, I will come and do your audit, blah, 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 and they're not accredited to give you that certificate. So anybody out there who's wanting their ISO, make sure you've got a UCAS accredited provider that will come out and do your audit to give you your accreditation against the standard. Because even
do they have to be accredited to do it?
So I'll put on my website, I can do your ISO accreditation. Who's checking me?
Well,
I could be talking bollocks. And I'll just put a certificate out there.
And nobody checks?
No one.
Because I must admit, I've you know, we started the ISO 9001, but I never actually checked whether it was a great. You just assume everybody is.
Well, no. So UCAS accredited. It's got to be a UCAS. I'm going to say it again. UCAS accredited company, because it's just not worth the paper it's written on. Now, I had a client. Maybe it was 2 years ago. So they had a 10-year contract with a company. They were on retainer with for their ISO, 10 years, and they were not UCAS accredited.
I believe that's even legal.
Well, I say it's unethical, but anyway, they went for a open reach contract, and they needed their CHAS. I think it was CHAS Elite then, or it was a big contract. CHAS refused their ISO because they're not a UCAS accredited company that's given them their ISO.
So that's a massive one for everybody.
So they've gone, we have spent thousands and thousands, we're in a 10-year contract with a company, and it's not a accredited certificate we've got.
Crazy.
And it's scary because there are companies out there that just do that. And I don't know a way around it. I don't know how you can let businesses know you need that in place, the UCAS accredited provider.
I can feel a whole new project coming on it.
Well, because we've been talking about it in the team. It was a couple of years ago now that we went to do their audit to help them through the open reach contract. You know, and fortunately they got the contract because we had to go through a separate audit process because they hadn't had their official ISO certificates. So it was a lot more, time investment. They had to pay us for going down to do their audits and help with the procedures and policies. And the other company just didn't want to know. They went, no, we've given you your certificate.
Right, interesting.
Done and dusted. We even contacted them to get their health and safety policy changed. They kept the copyrights of the health and safety policy, which, again, I'm like, how? You've written a policy for someone, surely it's their policy. And we wanted to update the policy, and they wanted like £300 to put a couple of lines in. I was like, oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah, crazy.
Right. But 10-year contract.
So what? Who's your perfect client then? What does a perfect client for you look like?
Oh, that's a tough one. So we work in all different industries. So from care, schools, construction, manufacturing. I suppose my perfect client right now would be someone that we can really go in and make a big difference with. So recently we went into an organisation who had a bad accident, and they had a previous health and safety person in, who I suppose they were doing a bit of side work whilst working full time, so they went in on a Saturday, which is fine because that's how I started out. But then when I went in to do the audit, they had no risk assessments. This is a big manufacturing facility, no fire risk assessment for the property.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm like, what were they doing every Saturday? I don't know. But not that I badmouth anyone, but that's just not on. And so we went in, we did the audit, we got the action plan, we got them through the insurance audit. Look, touch wood, the HSE's not gone out, but actually now they're fully prepared if the HSE come out because we've got everything sorted. So we've gone in and really made a difference, and that fills me with joy to do that. So I suppose, care, manufacturing.
You've got the peace of mind, they're completely compliant.
And that gives me relief because obviously that's what we do. And, we would never want to do a bad job. And, I've had a challenge recently where we went in somewhere to do a specific job and it didn't turn out quite as well as we thought it would do. And, you take learning from that. We try and learn from any mistakes that we might make in the past or, and reflect on that as a team. But I suppose that, and it doesn't matter the industry or the size of business.
Right. Okay. So I was just going to say, is it a certain size? Because I'm just trying to piece together, the business that I had and this thing of it becoming health and safety becoming part of the culture of the business, and there was things that we used to do. So our health and safety advisor, if you like, it was a retained service. We used to get them in once a week. And it was just a quick half-hour meeting about lessons learned, near misses, the amount of people that don't track near misses. They have an accident
really
book, and it's
things.
Well, unless you've had a leg amputated or something, it doesn't go in the accident book. But it is everything, isn't it? From a pinprick to a trip on a doorstep to anything goes, and people don't record that, and that's where I genuinely believe it has to come from the culture of getting everybody in. And I actually think, we talked about mental health earlier on. That is massive. And
there was the regs change recently with the first aid regs. So every company now needs to consider the mental health aspect. Whether you get a mental health first aider in, regardless, you need to sit down and analyse your company. Do you have issues? How can you assist people in the mental health aspect? Which is a really good policy change, I think. And most people are going down, we're going to have a mental health first aider route, which again, I do think is a positive thing. But with the mental health first aiders, it's a fine line of, you're not a paramedic, you're not a doctor, and you're there to assess the situation and try and avoid them becoming worse, or, if they're suicidal, it's trying to calm the situation. But in the background, you're getting help to come in.
And again, it's got to be driven by culture. And you can only drive it by the culture if the company's got a vision, it's got a purpose, it knows what it stands for. And like health and safety, it's got to just be the norm that people are just having conversations about, is that right, is that not right? And mental health, you're right, it is a very fine line, because I found myself over the years, when somebody's having a bad day and it's like, oh, and you don't. But the first step again is having a conversation.
Even just do you want a cup of tea? Fancy chat. Or even if you start the conversation off by telling them something, that's troubling you or something's going on, but it's not just. And when I say the companies need to assess, It's not just sticking a mental health first aider in the company. No. And it's back down to strategy, looking at your health and wellbeing strategy as part of the business. You know, do you have sickness absence? Is there one individual that's really struggling? Is there any, past cases of stress, depression, time off work? But it's looking at the root causes as well. Yeah. Because people think, we're going to do Fruit Friday. But it's actually, you need to look at the data and really assess it. What's the root causes? Is it time pressures? Is it shift patterns? Is there not enough staff? Is there too many staff? That's one that doesn't come up often. Is there something in the business that's really triggering that poor mental health aspect? And what can the business do to support the staff? And people don't really think of it. I like to think of it a bit like an incident investigation. Yeah. You're really drilling down to the detail.
It's like peeling the layers back, as we'd say. Yeah. You actually get to the nib of the problem because, I suppose the same applies to health and safety as well. Broadly health and safety, that quite often what you think's the problem is very rarely the problem. When you actually start to peel the layers back, it's something completely different.
Yeah, and speaking to different people, in incident investigations, it's called witness statements, but even just general chats, in the past we've done like mental well-being lunch and learn sessions in workplaces, which is really good because it's more of a conversation rather than me coming in with a PowerPoint just talking at people.
Because you can only absorb 10 minutes, and then you've zoned out.
It's an actual conversation amongst a small group of people.
But it's little conversations often, and that's the same with health and safety. It's the same with mental health. It's got to be part of the culture of the business. Yeah. And it's one of my, you probably tell, it's one of my passion projects is this, that so many people think culture is beanbags in the office and slides and Fat Friday or Fruit Friday, all these things, and
get me down a slide.
Hey, people do it. But that's not what it is. It's about the mission, the purpose, the values, the destination, understanding where the business is going, what it exists for, values, employing people that they feel like they believe in the business, they feel like they belong in the business. And it's all through listening and having conversations and working as a team, moving towards a common goal.
Yeah, you'll see those marginal gains. Yeah. Because I love that term.
1% club.
Yes. And because even the little changes, the little and often, biggest difference.
Little baby steps all the time. But again, you've got to have baby steps going in the right direction. Yeah, and that's what's missing. Health and safety, what is the goal for health and safety? Is it to have 0 accidents? Is it to have everybody?
That's a hate of mine. Yeah. When you see the boards, we've had, how many days since our last accident?
Somebody's lying.
I'm like, oh, God. Surely, there's been an accident somewhere and someone's not reported it or something. And then actually another one that was brought up recently was, I used to work for a big construction firm and we had... it was projects. So each project had like what's it called? Your bonus. Yeah. Like a project bonus scheme. And you had metrics to meet. One of the metrics was to have no riddors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what if we do? Then everyone's going to be, bad-mouthing that person that had an accident. And actually there was a case a couple of years ago in a local authority where they had the same metric where they had to have no riddors for everybody I don't know if it was everyone in the local authority, but on a certain site to get their bonus. Yeah. And a guy did have a riddor reportable accident, death threats, people turning up at his house, really? All sorts. And he unfortunately took his own life because of the pressure. I'm thinking, who came up with that metric? No riddors. No. Because accidents do happen, and even if someone's working unsafely, it still happens, and everyone's involved. Yeah. It's not just down to one person. There's been multiple failures within this.
And that comes back to what we do again, and you'll know this, that when we're starting to talk about these goals in businesses, and the long-term goal, that North Star, the guiding light, but also the operational goals. I'm a big believer in they can't be about money. Yeah. They've got to be about impact goals, but that's got to align with the vision and the direction the business is going in. And those kind of goals, they're all driven by money. And as soon as you attach money to goals, it's that destroys people. It becomes about KPIs and targets, and it's that's destroying people. And
because people aren't just about money anymore.
No.
Yeah, I think since
the
COVID,
world's changed.
Yeah, the world's completely changed since COVID. People want a good life. You're at work more than you're at home.
Yeah.
And what's your tagline? Is it people do work?
Yeah.
And it's putting people first. Yeah, the profits will come. I very much agree with that. And I've seen that in businesses that I work with.
We see this every day of the week. Businesses that put money at the front, money is the the benchmark, and all right, your 10-year goal might be to make £10 million, whatever that is. But as soon as it becomes about money, that things like that, the KPIs and the targets, and if we have 0 RIDDOR events, we'll pay a bonus, and everything becomes about money, and it's wrong. Businesses that put people first are the businesses that grow, and if you can get that right, you can get the culture right, you can get the health and safety culture right, the mental health well-being right, and everybody's going in the same direction, then money always follows. It always follows.
It's taking your business from one point to a completely different point.
And it's changing that focus, and I think it's starting to happen, and it's the mission we're on. That we talk about, if we put people first, then we will change the way the world does business, and that's our mission. That we're going to change the way the world does business, and it's a big ask, but we're doing it. We've gone from 2 years ago there was Andy Henderson that founded this whole thing. I very quickly joined him, and then from 2 years ago we've gone from 2 of us to 7 of us by the end of the year. Since we've merged with the other company now, we've got a marketing agency on board. There's 14 of us now. So we're doing it, and when you think about how that scales up, we get a new franchisee in a different area, with another 4
years. You make an impact in a completely different area, and you'll be all over the country.
Well, that's it. So we're all over Lancashire now. We're coming into Yorkshire. We're down in Manchester now, so it's spreading.
Well, I think people, because I've been going to YAB, so YAB, if people don't know, is Your Affordable Board. It's a networking group, but it's not like I suppose it's not like a normal networking group. You're there for each other, to help each other. It's your board, isn't it? Because obviously my board is just me. But
it's, I think there was Helen in the Lancaster group said, regardless of your size of business, everybody needs a board. And you have to have probably 4 or 5 key people around you, which you may or may not have in life generally anyway, but you need that confidant. That's somebody that you can talk to privately when you're having a bad day. You need that person that can maybe help you from a financial perspective about what to do or how to do something. You need that motivator, that person that gives you the kick up the arse to just keep going, do it, the coach, if you like. And that's what we're trying to create with YAB, really. That it is, as you say, it's your affordable board. And
it's a safe place. I think that's my biggest thing, is being new in business, learning a lot. You come up with all sorts of issues, and I'm pulling my hair out with different things, and it's a safe space. I can trust the people there.
Because they're all business owners, leaders, MDs. They're all in the same.
It's the mindset thing for me, I think.
It is. But I know the groups vary. That every group's got its own little identity, and I know my home group, the Burnley group, that's a real mix of big businesses and small businesses. There's a guy in there that runs a £3-4 million business with 30 people, and he wants or needs completely different things to some of the small businesses. And what he actually wants is he wants to think differently, because he's in that almost like big business mentality now of I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this. He loves having the conversations when you talk to a smaller business, and they're like, "We'll just do it," and they're still agile. And I find that absolutely fascinating. That you know what the membership's like. You can move around. You can go to any of the groups in any of the locations whenever you want, and you can go wherever your needs are. And I find that fascinating. That it may be that your confidant's in the the Burnley group, and you when you're needing a bit of motivation, you go there. And it's important. But again, it's all coming round to putting people first, looking after each other. So with
that impact thing. I think that's what sort of really sold it to me. It's all right. You're not joining because you're earning over 10 million. It's not that type of networking group. It's we're here to try and make a difference in the world of business.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because that's my thing, is with safety, it's stagnant, it's, it's people going around with a clipboard, the negative Nancy thing that I always say, and we're trying to change that perception where we're positive, practical and personal with our clients, because not one size, how can I say it? Not one size fits all. Yeah. And, it's really trying to make the ways and change that perception. Yeah. And instantly when I heard that, I was like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
And,
So all comes back down to culture for me. Culture. That is culture. It's changing that. Well, as you say, mindset. There's so many businesses that are bloody boring. And everybody, it's like Groundhog Day. You do that job, you do that job, you do that job. No, and you think even the bigger businesses, they need to rock it up their arse, and they need to just define what the future looks like, and everybody work towards it and talk to each other.
Silos
But that's when you change health and safety. That's when you change mental health and well-being. And I work with so many businesses where the staff in the business have got no idea what the owner's thinking. And if you can just define that and bring it all together, that's when everything like health and safety. And I did it. I did it, and I know it works. I know this stuff works, and it's the only way we're going to do it. And I think that's why we get on. But I know you're like the disruptor, aren't you? The one that trying to trying to change the way it's done, rather than just accepting this is what we do. And I do think that's ISO. Was it UCAS? You said the accreditation. You've got to get out there and tell people about it.
But it's how. It's with the whole Bubblewrap thing in this podcast is one of the hows. But
hopefully, if everybody's listening, they'll know.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
We'll do a test.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. So if anybody's listening and you didn't know that, put a comment in.
Put a comment. Yeah. Or send us a message, because I've got a list of providers who are UCAS accredited companies.
Yeah. Have you got a list of the ones that aren't?
Yes.
Send that out as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. This has been a really good conversation now.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for asking me.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening or watching. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe to our channel. All links to our social media are in the description below, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment or message us. Bubblewrap, to protect your business.